Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Female Voice Zoomcast. I am Shanice.
I am Lauren.
I am NECA.
Hello, it's Takara.
And I'm going to introduce you to our special guest today. If you want to introduce yourself, go ahead.
I'm Dee.
All right.
Hello, everyone.
All right, awesome. Well, we're so glad that Dee can join us. She's going to share her expertise on our topic today. So you probably want to know what we're going to be talking about. All right. So today we are going to be discussing a topic under several umbrella. So under the umbrella of self-care, we'll be discussing mental health, physical health, spiritual health. But today we're going to be focusing specifically on diet. To kick us off, I'm going to share some statistics. So in 2017, according to AmericanProgress.org, 13.8% of African Americans report having poor or fair health, compared to only 8.3% of non-Hispanic whites. 80% of African American women are considered to be obese or overweight, compared to 64.8% of non-Hispanic white women. The leading causes for death for African American people are heart disease, cancer, and accidental death. African Americans have the highest mortality rate for all cancers compared with any other ethnic group. So ladies, with this in mind, should Black women consider an alternate diet or lifestyle when it comes to eating habits? And whoever wants to take that question, feel free.
Well, I think the answer, based on the statistics, is yes, we should really look into these things. I think, to me, I try to be a little bit healthier in what, I eat and stuff, but it's hard, I think, with our lifestyles. We're busy and stuff. So I don't know. I'm open to any suggestions you guys have.
I would think, go ahead, sorry.
I was just going to say, I think we definitely should be considering different ways of eating from what we have traditionally been accustomed to. I know I definitely am trying to work my way towards veganism. I was vegetarian for a little bit, and then I backslid into pescatarian. Hopefully I'll be able to move forward back into vegetarianism and then move on to veganism after some time. But, I read a really interesting book called Eat to Live by, I think, Dr. Joel Furman. And it gave a lot of good statistics about, the decreased incidence of so many types of diseases, cancer, heart disease, like everything, even autoimmune disease, based on people who are vegan and some vegetarian. So all research and data is pointing towards it being a healthier lifestyle and it extending the years in your life. So definitely, I think it's important for us to get at that. It's not easy, but it's something we need to be striving towards.
Anyone else?
My answer to that question is absolutely. We tend to hang on to our old habits, and our culture in the Black community is very important to us. Hanging on to culture and tradition of soul food. We love our fried, greasy fried chicken. We love our mac and cheese, and it's hard to let go of these habits. But there are healthier alternatives out there. We can still maintain the taste and the flavors of these foods, and without the heart disease or cancers, high blood pressures. We can look into other alternatives. For me, I became vegan because I wanted to maintain a healthier lifestyle. It's not easy, but we need to let go of those old traditions, and so we can also pass on healthier habits to our families.
My sentiments agree with everyone else. I think that we absolutely need to have a healthier diet. We have held on to, this idea of like soul food and comfort food for so long, but we have long known that those things lead to, diabetes, hypertension, obesity, for the African American community. And our death rates are higher. We aren't treated the same in the medical system. So we need to be doing all that we can to help ourselves to turn this around. We have to take some ownership of it. And but I do hear what everybody is saying about like how difficult it is, because I mean, I'm definitely one of those people where I kind of have my moods, sometimes the other day I went to Dunkin' Donuts and I had 2 glazed donuts and they were delicious, which I probably should not be saying. But the other thing too is, perhaps moderation versus maybe, completely cutting things out might be easier. Because that's not something that I eat like before then. I think maybe the last time I had a donut might have been around Christmas time. So that's like twice a year. I don't know. So.
To piggyback off of what kind of Lauren said, our lifestyles, especially in this country, have become extremely busy. And as a mom, because I'm a mom of 3, sometimes fast is easy. And if you've been working all day, it's hard to consider, well, now I need to make sure I cook something that is relatively healthy rather than quick. So it is something that is a challenge to do, but I think it's in a long term effect, it's definitely worth it for your kids to grow up and start to develop healthy habits, opposed to I'm going to do what my family's done because this is my tradition. I think that it's definitely something to consider especially for our community, and it's definitely something to educate our kids into, because we don't want to pass down the habits that were passed down to us, out of the sense of it's easier, so I think an alternative lifestyle is definitely something that the African American community should definitely consider, considering that these health disparities have been with us since I don't even know how long. I know this was in 2017, but Black people had high hypertension, high blood pressure, heart disease, diabetes for years. So this is nothing new, but it's going to take a lot of dedication for us, and to make sure, like, because I know a lot of time I don't want to just eat, I'm not a rabbit. I don't want to eat carrots, and everybody just thinks that being a vegan or vegetarian, you're just going to sit around eating vegetables all day. So I think education is important, because me right now, I'm on the journey of vegetarian/veganism, but I don't know what to make for myself. So, and but I do know how to make what my mom made, and I do know how to make what my grandma made. So it's a lot of research and education that needs to be given to our communities in order for this to be an effective change, but it's definitely needed. So that's my 2 cents on that. And here's my next question. So since we talked about, go ahead.
You brought up a good point about not knowing what to make. And I think that is a struggle a lot of people have. And when I stopped eating meat, I was like trying to do a lot of research. And what I found was really helpful is Green Chef, which is a meal kind of delivery service. They send you your like meal ingredients in a bag. You choose your 3 meals, and you can choose a diet, whether it is vegetarian, vegan. They have carnivore and they have omnivore. So I was choosing from plant-based, vegetarian and vegan meals. So it gives you an idea of a lot of different things you can make, the ways you can make them, different ingredients, things that I didn't even know about. So I found that to be really helpful. I think also there's, with the internet, we have access to a lot of recipes out there, like Tasty, the app, allrecipes.com. You can look up there and get, filter for vegetarian or vegan and get a lot of recipes that way. So I found that helpful. And then also following vegan social media personalities. There's a lot of information you can get on Instagram, also on YouTube, and they will take you through and show you how to make this and that. So I got a lot of recipes and things from there. And with time being a constraint, some of the meal delivery services like Purple Carrot is one that doesn't do meat at all. And you can sometimes filter those things for quick and easy meals that are like made in less than 30 minutes or sometimes 45 minutes. So if time is the issue, that is a good way to get some recipes. They can be expensive, mind you. So I wouldn't, you can get an idea and then cancel and continue to make those things and, tweak them on your own.
And
But I
that's
think that those were helpful.
all right. So, but that's another issue too, the expense of being a vegan. The bad food is cheap. You know what I'm saying? It's cheaper to get all the junk that you want compared to buying healthy, fresh fruit and vegetables. And I don't know why it's like that in this country, but it is. And so
Because it's America. Look, I hate to shut you off, Shanice,
go
but
ahead.
that's because it's America and it's capitalism, and they profit off of people being, the repetitive nature, addiction, people being addicted to all of this bad stuff that they put into our food, and those things are cheap, so it's easy for people to want more salt, and for people to want more sugar, and for people to want more like a high fructose corn syrup, is really what they use instead of like sugar. I mean, it's so much more like potent. It gives you much more sugar than you even realize that you're consuming. And people, you get addicted to those things. And then if you are constantly eating that, you're going to continually want to do that. I mean, want to eat that. It's very hard. Like there really is an issue with America not caring enough about its people, because if you compare us to other countries do not allow genetically modified food, and food with like these, I mean, it's so much sugar. There was just a article that Subway's bread cannot be considered bread because the FDA said that it was too high in sugar to be considered bread, or too high in I don't remember what it was it sugar or something else, but it was too high in whatever ingredients that it really could not be considered bread. And then there's some other people who opened an investigation in California about Subway's tuna. If it's like the composition of it, is it enough to be even considered tuna?
Right.
Other countries don't allow this stuff, but America does, because America is about profit.
Well, listen, I hear all of the things that you guys are saying, but here are my follow-up questions. Number one, how do we balance some of these things? Because I can intellectually understand that I should eat healthier, and I can intellectually understand that. But the challenge is like, it doesn't taste as good to me, number one. I also don't understand the challenge that I have with vegan is like, butters and cheeses, and that's also what makes things taste good. So are there any like alternatives, or what's the answer to that? Because I still haven't found that flavor profile that is the same, or that can make me want to switch over.
Dee, do you have a suggestion? Because Dee is actually, she's a very good cook.
I do absolutely have suggestions for that. There are actually quite a few vegan butters out there. I think for most people, it's taking the time and the energy to do your own research. Because I've found delicious cheeses. Actually, you could even make your own cheese these days. There are a lot of recipes out there. Google is my best friend. And you have to also consider that a vegan diet is cheaper than being in the hospital, or even cheaper than being on medication for the rest of your life with illnesses.
That's a good point. That's a good point, Dee.
So yeah, so I think for me personally, I do a lot of research. Don't think in terms of removing things that you enjoy eating. Think in terms of adding better alternatives to your diet. And once you do that, you will grow and you would find that there are alternatives that taste really good. Your taste buds can change really quickly. Yeah, once you make that decision and you make that change, give yourself a week or two. You'll be surprised how your taste buds, you're not gonna desire that soda every day anymore, or eating candy, eating a lot of sweets. Just give yourself a chance to improve on your diet.
Yeah, I think that I found that to be really accurate. I thought that it was going to be really hard to give up meat, but I really didn't find it challenging the way some other people do. I didn't really crave it. And there was a time I went on vacation because I told myself, I was like, okay, I'm not going to eat meat, but when I go out of the country where they're not doing all these horrible things and the meat is a little bit more organic, if you will, I might try some. So I went to Jamaica. I got some jerk chicken and I didn't enjoy it the way I used to. I was like, this just doesn't taste, I don't like this anymore. It wasn't, I thought it was going to be like my big, time to just have a piece of meat and whatever. And I was like, So it becomes so much easier to not continue eating it when you don't even enjoy it after you've given it up for so long. And then the other thing I was going to say, it really is a mindset shift about taste and flavor and eating for things tasting really good. Like you have to just think about the fact that everything you put in your mouth has the potential to extend or decrease your life, right? So when you're thinking in that way, it makes it more easy to focus on eating healthy versus eating things that just taste good. And I think a lot of things that you're eating that are healthy can be flavorful and tasty, but sometimes we are not aware of how to make that happen, which is where I think listening to the people who've been doing it for years, people that have vegan, vegetarian cookbooks, listening to the people who know how to get the food flavorful and right and give you the proper ingredients. And sometimes, ordering the meal kits or whatever is really helpful to get you started on that journey because, you shouldn't just be there eating a dry salad every day. It's going to get real old and boring.
Right. I remember there was one time where I went to Baltimore has a Be More Healthy fair, and I would go to that like every year. But one year they had a display, a vendor where they just show like the amount, like what the equivalent like of sugar actually is, and they had like the amounts in Ziploc bags. And I was to that, like for some reason those images are like ingrained in my head, how is so much sugar in the beverages. I mean, you don't realize that you're drinking so much. And I agree. Once you like maybe desensitize, like that's essentially what you're doing. If you stop, maybe even for like 2 weeks, or like if you maybe cut back for a week and then maybe take like 2 weeks where you don't have any soda, and then when you go back to it, it's like so strong, it's so syrupy, it's like it's not even appetizing anymore. You're trying to figure out like, how did I eat this and like drink this and enjoy this before? But those Ziploc bags that were like a quarter full of sugar, like that, I think about that all the time when I look at juice and all of these things that have 47 grams of sugar and 37 grams of sugar and 56 grams of sugar. And then you find that sugar is in all of these things that don't really need sugar. Like, why is sugar in bread? Why is sugar in crackers? Why is sugar in, like all of these different food items, especially, because we do a lot of, packaged food in America. But like when I actually took the time to think about that, and then I, made that transition I never thought I would drink this much water in my life. And now what it does is it only takes about maybe 2 weeks or so for your taste buds to desensitize, and then you can enjoy your food so much more. You will be surprised at like how much different food tastes and like how more sensitive your palate becomes. You don't need those high amounts of like salt and sugar to like taste food. It tastes so much better and cleaner. I mean, for me, at least that's been my experience. It really made a difference for me.
For our family, my husband is a diabetic, so we used to drink a lot of juice. That was like one thing that we had on the house all the time. We had juice. Weren't big soda drinkers, but once he became a diabetic, we had to read labels. So that's all we do now. This has that amount of carbs, that's amount of sugar. We can't have this. So we were surprised at the amount of sugar that were actually in these drinks that we were consuming on a daily basis. So yeah, if you get it, please read those labels, because you don't need like 48 grams of sugar in an 8-ounce drink. You definitely don't need that. So that's one other way, if you are at least just considering something to do to make yourself a little healthier, look at the labels, because it's important. And you don't need, and pay attention to the amount of carbs, because carbs turn into sugar too. We had to learn that very fast. So yeah, so that has been something we had to adjust our lifestyle for, because he became diabetic at a younger age than we would have thought he would become diabetic at. His dad's has diabetes, so it's basically genetic. Everything else, he's healthy and he doesn't have any heart problems, any cholesterol problem, anything else. He's just a diabetic. So the doctor's like, you're healthy as a horse, but you have diabetes. So that's that. So
He has a mini horse then.
yeah. So our family had to be really cautious of like the amount of carbs and sugar we were drinking, and we didn't realize that before.
Yeah, and those labels are tricky because like you say, it may say, like it'll say like when you read those so, like the amount of how much sugar, how much calories, how much iron, sodium, whatever, it's for per serving.
That's
and if you
right.
are
Yeah.
drinking a 32-ounce beverage and that label is actually giving you figures for an 8-ounce serving, now you are not drinking 8 ounces, you're drinking the whole 32 ounces.
Yes.
So that's like 4 servings, and so now you have tripled that amount. People, we aren't thinking that way. We're just going through life, enjoying food. Like you say, it's convenient. You eat what you want, but really it's a slow and painful death.
And then not only looking at added sugars, I think it's important to look at other additives, preservatives, coloring. They put all kinds of things in our foods and drinks. Like Sunny D has canola oil in it. Like why? Why would we be drinking? You think you're drinking juice or orange drink, whatever it is, and they have oil in it that you're drinking. And so you just have to really look at the ingredients and figure out what it is that you're consuming and making smart choices. Like maybe you want to eat a snack, you feel like having chips. So, I mean, there's probably healthier snacks to eat, but let's say everybody cheats, whatever, you have chips. Looking at the smarter choice, like maybe you should just get a plain potato chip versus the Cheetos that have orange coloring, fake cheese, all this kind of stuff. So it's really important to just look at the different choices that you have in what you're eating and drinking too.
So
I mentioned earlier that it's all about a mindset. And there's a difference between eating to live and living to eat. There are a lot of healing foods out there, and if our mindset is using food as our medicine, then you are eating to live. Living to eat are, that's when we look at food. We have a mindset that food is more of comfort. That's when we start eating things just because it makes us feel good. You mentioned earlier that Aji is a diabetic. Now my mom, she had an experience. She's much better now, but she was borderline diabetic, and quickly decided to change her diet, stop eating processed foods, a lot less sweets, and well, she's always cooked food from scratch. That's how I learned how to cook. But she made a major change in her diet, and now she is not diabetic anymore. Oh, wow. And it's all because she made a conscious decision to change her diet. And
How long did that take?
I would say within the first year that she changed her diet, she went from being borderline diabetic to not using any medication or anything anymore.
Mhm.
So,
That's awesome.
That's good.
Yeah, I think, diabetes is definitely something that, it's a good thing to talk about because a lot of people in our community have it.
Mhm.
And, I have heard people say, they're not going to claim diabetes, where it's like, that's not something that, they're going to say for themselves, or they're going to, change themselves. But like you're saying, it is important to really change your diet, and that has the ability to potentially change your life and your trajectory. So that's a good point.
That is a good point. Yeah, because I know like a lot of times people would say, look at your genes, and those are the things that you're going to be predisposed to, but that doesn't necessarily mean it has to be the outcome for your life. 'Cause I know I have a lot of diseases in my family.
Mhm.
We have cancers, we have heart disease, we have diabetes, we have high blood pressure, but hopefully when I'm older, I don't have to deal with that because I'll make that lifestyle change now. And then with my kids, it's the same way, train them up young so that they know how to make those changes in their diet as well, so that they can grow up healthy and not have to worry about those predisposed diseases. Um,
So
Right.
can I ask a question? What sorts of things do you eat for dinner? Like what do you eat for dinner?
that's a good question. Well, I cook a lot of my food from scratch. So I would start by doing something like pressure cooking or soaking before I pressure cook my beans.
Mhm.
I would make quinoa to eat with that. There are some substitute meats, vegan meats that you can use. And what I do, my approach to cooking is really to use the ingredients that I would use in the past to make things like, say, I'm making stewed chicken or fried, or if I were to prepare beef, or say I'm making pasta, I would actually use the same methods and implement that in my vegan diet. So, for instance, I do my own pasta sauce. Instead of using tomatoes, I enjoy peppers more. So I would roast my peppers and blend it and use the same seasonings, my garlic, parsley, um, peppers, and I would saute it and add my other seasonings to flavor my pasta sauce and make it from scratch. Um, and there are a lot of different pastas out there. You don't have to use the stuff that you see on the shelf at the grocery store. You can visit the health food store because they have pastas that's made from things like lentils that are healthier alternative. So yeah, so I pretty much implement the same method that I would use if I were making any foods that I would make before I became vegan, and change it to suit myself in my vegan diet.
Okay.
Thank you for sharing that, Dee. That's awesome.
You're welcome.
Oh, and Dee, how long have you been vegan?
It was off and on for me. I was vegan for about 12 years in the past. That was strict, very, very strict vegan for about 12 years. Then I went through a very stressful time in my life. I blame it on the stress. I went back to eating fish and chicken for a period of time, I would say about 3 years-ish. And I decided that I wanted to go back to the vegan diet. It was cold turkey the first time. I went into my refrigerator, threw out all of the milks, cheese, and everything. I just went cold turkey.
Wow.
And I would say it was not difficult for me because I enjoy cooking so much. And my mom taught me how to cook from scratch. So it's like, okay, I'm just going to do this, that. And I was able over a short period of time to change my diet the first time. Second time around, because I want to say backslid into eating fish and chicken, um, it was more challenging because I would stop for a period of time. Then my friends would invite me to their house, and I love me some jerk chicken.
Oh.
So, that was my weakness for a while. So I was off and on for a bit. But once I made the decision to stop completely, and I did, I was really, really happy about that. But it was a struggle the second time. And I'll tell you something about that jerk chicken. As much as I love eating jerk chicken, I found a recipe where I was able to implement all of those flavors, so I don't have to miss the jerk chicken anymore. Have you guys ever heard about this Beyond Burger meat?
Yes.
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay. So, so what I do is I prepare the Beyond Burger meat and add the jerk flavors to the burger meat, and I would add pasta and steamed vegetables to that. So I call it my my jerk pasta dish, and it's delicious. So
A little rasta pasta.
I do like Beyond Burger meat, so that could be an option.
Yeah.
yeah.
Sounds good. All right. So I'm going to ask this question. So we talked about this struggle with our relationships, relationships with our traditional foods, and how hard it can be to make that transition. What suggestion would you give people that are watching that love their comfort foods, love their soul foods, and it's something that they're having a hard time giving up? What advice would you give those people? So for those of you that have changed to an alternate lifestyle, what advice would you give people that are considering change, but they love those traditional and comfort foods?
I mean, I've done cold turkey, and I've also done where maybe the taper method might be better. It really just depends on the person. Sometimes it can be as simple as okay, just actually maybe taking an inventory, like having people to pay more attention to what they're eating, how much of it they're consuming. So let's say, if you're having four juice or soda, whatever, per day, maybe you can say, okay, you swap out one or two, and then you just kind of maybe make the transition to where you don't have any. And then you can maybe still enjoy those things in moderation, but at least give yourself that 2 weeks or so without it. Then go back and then really make a good, like, honest assessment on how you feel about it. Because oftentimes, most people, I believe that Dee and Neka have both mentioned, is that when you come off of those foods and then you go back to them, you realize it's not as good. You don't really even enjoy it. You may be more sensitive to the flavors. It may be, almost intense or overpowering, where you don't enjoy it anyway. So you don't even miss those things and you don't want them. You don't enjoy them anymore. But maybe some people can do cold turkey, like Dee mentioned before. I mean, I've done that before. But I think if it's difficult, if you're finding it difficult, maybe the tapering off of something, just swapping things initially until you can get off, or and also just keeping in mind that it is difficult, like food can be addictive. That is very real, that you could be addicted to certain foods, especially considering again all of the things that are in food in America. If you fall off the wagon, you just start fresh on Monday, or you just keep trying until you get it right.
Good advice. Good advice. Anybody else got any advice for people out there watching?
If anyone is looking for motivation, I would recommend if you've ever seen this documentary called What the Health. A lot of great information and alternatives as well. strongly recommend watching that documentary.
Awesome. Anyone else?
Yeah, I think the book that I mentioned earlier, Eat to Live, to me was eye-opening. I guess it depends on how you best receive information. And I think, like Takara was saying, maybe a stepwise approach can be helpful. Maybe if you're trying to transition to vegetarianism or veganism, instead of just going cold turkey, if you find that difficult, maybe start with eliminating red meats, right? Do that for a little bit, a few months, then maybe eliminate the white meats and then eliminate the seafood, just do it little by little if that's easier for you. And then following people who are vegan or vegetarian and like maybe whatever your culture is. Like if you're West Indian, follow some West Indian vegans who make the traditional dishes in a different way. If I'm Nigerian, they have people who are Nigerian who are making our dishes without meats and fish and things like that. If it's soul food that you like, follow people who make vegan or vegetarian soul food so that you can get kind of like similar recipes, things that you're used to eating, things that you love, and figure out how to do it similarly.
Excellent, excellent answers, lady. And I got one more question before we close out. Do you, in your opinion, are Black health disparities directly related to food, or do you feel that there are some other reason why we have so many health disparities in our country, or just all over the world? I think we have Black people have health disparities.
Sedentary lifestyle is something I would think is an issue for us. We work long hours, we have long commutes, we are not physical as we were before. If you think about caveman times, you would get, like, people might get a meal and fill up and then maybe not eat again for, a week or so before they kill another animal. But that's not the case anymore. We are eating in abundance every day. And sitting around and not really expending many calories. Our lifestyles have changed. There was a time where families, in the 50s and 60s had one car per family, so you might have more walking. We don't do those things as much as, we do. We don't realize, like, and you guys spoke about this before, about like the convenience and the hustle and bustle. And now there is a fast food restaurant on every corner, even if you want to go, vegan or be healthy, I don't know if you, I wonder too, what you think about this, Dee. The advertising is everywhere for, fast food, unhealthy food. It's like, have a burger, have chicken nuggets, have, like whatever, the advertising for these things are everywhere. So that, I think, is something that can also make it difficult for people to make, healthier choices. And I think those things contribute to, the health problems that are plaguing, Black people everywhere.
Awesome, great answer.
Personally, I believe if the change comes with or starts with parents, when parents are educated on healthier foods, they feed their kids healthier foods. And when we make healthier choices, even in restaurants, it makes them aware of what I'm trying to say is it creates more of a demand, right? When we are making healthier choices, it creates a more of an awareness and more of a demand for healthier food. And so the restaurants will then be forced to provide us healthier options, as well as what do I want to say?
Non-healthy options.
Well,
like when you talk about restaurants, like you say, when you go into the stores, it's very limited depending on which store you're shopping at, like as far as, like you say, what options you have that are alternatives to, typical or, unhealthy options.
Yeah.
That's a good point, because I think a lot of times, when you go to certain restaurants, they don't have, I mean, I'm like I said, I'm not a vegan, but they don't have a lot of options for, people to eat healthy. So now here you are, you're sitting down with your family sitting there, and it's like, now I have to eat the salad that you may not have wanted to, initially. So I think what you're saying is a good point of like, we are creating a demand because we want to eat poorly. And so restaurants are also feeding the need for us to eat poorly. So it's like a chicken and an egg kind of thing.
Exactly.
There's also a lot of food that is seemingly healthy, but it is really trash, like junk, vegan food junk, vegetarian food. Some of those salads have more calories than, the meaty entrees, and a lot of that stuff isn't necessarily healthy. So that's why it's important to really learn how to look at the ingredients, look at the calories, like just figuring out what is a healthier thing, because it's not always, it will be marketed as something healthy, and that's not always the case. But going to the question that Shanice asked about other factors, I think institutionalized racism must be mentioned. That is a problem in everything. That is always the answer. So definitely contributes to food deserts that go on, and people's lower socioeconomic status, which makes it more difficult to eat healthier, and all of those things. So that's something that's really important. And then the other thing I was going to mention is addiction. I think it is literally a food addiction, and people don't really talk about it, but that's what's going on here. And it's no different than like being addicted to alcohol or illicit drugs. Like, a lot of us in the country are battling with food addiction, and it has to be kind of treated and addressed as such. It's like continued use despite harm. It's like, you continue eating this, the doctor tells you have high blood pressure, you have high cholesterol, you're overweight, now you're obese, now you have diabetes, now you have and people just don't change. It's just the continued use despite harm. It's literally an addiction.
Yeah. I think the other part of that also is kind of like who you're around, and what's normalized. Because I know for a while it was like eating these healthy grasses and things was for white people. So, just this whole culture of like, being at the park and hiking and all those different things, and eating healthy and being a vegan is not necessarily something that we attribute to ourselves. And I think for me also, I don't have very many vegan friends. So it's not like, when I hear you, Dee, it sounds, pretty reasonable what you're saying. I just don't know anybody that is subscribing to that lifestyle. So to me, it sounds foreign because I don't know it enough, So I think all of that kind of plays an impact into what we think is normal, what we do, what we try, who we live with, right? So we might want to be these healthy women, but then we may have a partner that's not necessarily, want to get involved with that either. And that makes a difference for what we decide to, put in our bodies. So it's a lot of factors, going back to what Shanice is saying, that are food related, but there's other things that kind of play a part in all of that. So,
and Shanice, you mentioned the a healthy body, mind, and spirit. It's health doesn't only start and stop with what you put in your mouth. It's also important for us to get out and get exercise. It's also important for us to breathe fresh air. A lot of our people live in cities, in apartments where they rarely ever get outside. Vitamin D is like so major, it plays a major part in our health, and we're not getting any sunlight, so yeah, there are other areas that we also need to focus on if we're going to maintain all-round health, a well-round health.
Do you also take vitamins as well, or do you get all of your vitamins from your food?
I would say the last 3 years of my life, I started taking vitamin supplements as well. I look for vitamins that are vegan as well. vegan capsules. And there are those superfoods that you can ingest that doesn't have a lot of chemicals in it. So even though there are a lot of vitamins out there, you also have to do your research to make sure that you're getting the right ones for you. I have most of my life struggled with, and I think a lot of women do as well, low iron.
Mhm.
So I've been in and out of iron deficiency. So I think that's where that's when I had a wake up call about implementing uh, vitamins into my diet. So yeah, I take vitamin D supplements. Uh, as much hiking as I do, and I love outdoor activities. Last year, for the first time, I think it was mainly because of COVID, I experienced low vitamin D count. So, and that can change in 3 months, by the way. So, ladies, make sure you get your blood work done when you get your exam done.
To answer the last question for me, our health, our health our Black health is very directly related to food. Um, like many of you mentioned, it's a variety of things. I have a conspiracy theory of my own. I think a couple of you have heard it, but my conspiracy theory with Black people is that because this is not our natural food and our habitat, because we were brought here, and a lot of the different areas we had to adapt to the food that was given to us. So therefore, I think this is my conspiracy theory. I think it changed our genes because we couldn't process the food that was given to us. So therefore, we have all these disparities that date back through history and through time. And not only that, we live in a country where we're under a lot of stress and pressure, like Neka said, through the systematic racism. So it's a variety of things, but diet is probably what the number 2 or 3 reason I would say this is the most important, but it is important. But I think those are all there's a lot of things that contribute to it. It's not just what you eat, it's where you live, it's how you take care of yourself. Are you exercising? It's are you mentally healthy? All of that contributes to our disparities. And yeah, I just wish one day we can live in a world where we don't have to worry about this at all. Maybe one day. But I think it is killing us. This racism is killing us. The food is killing us. A lot of things is killing us. So that's my 2 cents on that. Does anybody have any final words to the people out there watching?
I have one other thing I'd like to say. I would love to see us as a community, as Black people, I would love to see us go back to growing our own food.
Yes,
Cooking
yes.
from scratch, and dump all of the microwavable foods, the processed foods. That's what I hope for us.
Right. Awesome. Anybody else want to share anything before we close? Any final words or comments?
Yeah, I would like to just share a couple of ladies who are Black vegans who have delicious recipes that they're out there on the internet pushing. So Sweet Potato Soul is one that I follow, and the other one is Tabitha Brown. So check those ladies out. They are on Instagram and YouTube, and they have recipes on Tasty and cookbooks and great resources.
Very awesome.
I would just like to say, if we're talking about, making change, and how you change your diet can look different for everybody. If you don't want to be vegan, that's okay. That's your choice. If you want to enjoy meat, but it doesn't have to be such a drastic change. Perhaps you can just look at, decrease, like eating things in moderation, which is also an option to improve, because that can really turn things around. It doesn't have to, be, going to veganism or vegetarianism. I mean, just even making a reduction in consuming things that are, not as healthy for you can certainly make a difference in your overall health.
Awesome. Lauren, do you have anything to conclude?
Okay, I'm gonna eat some vegetables. But yeah, I mean, I definitely think that this was a good topic for me because I would say I had healthier eating habits when I was a kid. I do only drink water. Like I have some good stuff planted in, but I think as a grown up, it's just a lot easier to fall off the wagon and backslide into hamburgers.
Yeah.
So, just this conversation is just inspiring me to kind of get my stuff together and maybe look at what my options are. So,
But Lauren, would you consider, like, if you are looking at that menu at the restaurant and that burger is like delicious, but it's like 1,600 calories, what if you cut it in half? Then you could make it 800 calories. And then you can eat the other 800 calories later versus eating, a meal that might be 2,000 calories at, which is like your daily allowance for some people in one sitting. And then, I mean, like, would you consider maybe just cutting like down on the portion size, like maybe eating less?
yes, I think just for me personally, my challenge is not necessarily the portion size because I have good habits. It's that I don't eat enough vegetables. That's what I don't do. So like I said, I don't drink any juice. I don't drink any soda. I pretty much only drink water or coffee. Those are the only two things that I have. Or if I go to a restaurant, I am going to get probably some grilled chicken, or I do that. But at the same time, if I'm going to get grilled chicken as at a restaurant, I could probably make that same dish for less money, less calories or whatever, but I'm so, on the go and not wanting to cook and not wanting to go to the grocery store, I can get the same meal for half the time, and I'd rather do that. So I think it's that kind of thing. Like I know intellectually what to do, but I just don't do it. That's the end of it. That's just how it is. And I have to be reminded constantly, as we all do, that I know better, I should do better, and that's the end of it.
All right.
So that's just me personally.
All right,
Yeah,
ladies.
no, I understand.
All right, ladies, that's our time. This was a wonderful conversation. We'd like to thank Dee for joining us today. So thank you so much, Dee. We love the insight you gave on veganism, and we hope that we can take this information, share with our friends, share with our families, and let's see if we can get rid of some of these disparities, at least by dieting. I don't know about racism, y'all. I'm trying. We're trying. But at least let's get rid of the dieting part. We can do this. All right, guys. Shout out to Black Advancement, of course. Anybody got any shout outs? No. Dee has a supply store. I'm gonna shout out. Dee has a supply store on Amazon. NECA has waist beads. Check them out. And that's it. Thank you guys for watching. Like, subscribe, comment. Let me know what you're thinking. All right. We out.
Bye.
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 Bye.